Readiness Sports. My name is Brian, and I'm back with another new video. Of course, talking about the latest info as well as news coming in from Africa here, coming in from countries like Kenya, Tanzania, as well as Uganda, in preparation for the African Cup of Nations. But at the moment, we are preparing for the CHAN tournament that is going to be in our countries in February, and of course, already we have preparations underway. Uganda is hosting the under-17 CECAFA, so they are using some of the stadiums around, especially the training stadia like Nachibo Stadium, as well as St. Mary's Chitende, as of course, as curtain raisers for the things that are bigger that are yet to come. But on the Kenyan side, it's really very disappointing. A report coming in from the FIFA, from the CAF inspection that was done earlier this week. And of course, Uganda had its own. They really, the officials came into the country, they met the First Lady, and of course, a few things were discussed, and Uganda looks all set in there. For Kenya, it doesn't look very well. Already, Tanzania looking very good because they already have Benjamin Mkapa Stadium. It has been under renovations, and I got to know that the renovations at the Benjamin Mkapa Stadium were at 80%, and things looking very set and looking very well with the way things happening. So there is no worries in there. But on the side of Kenya, it doesn't look any good. And with the way things are happening, you remember that they put two stadiums that are going to be hosting the CHAN tournament, which includes the Nyayo Stadium, which is under renovation, and the Kasarani Stadium, that is also under massive renovation. The first half really looking slow with the way things are happening. I got to know that already. Of course, things have been worked on, like the surrounding of the stadium itself, then the canopies, and of course the roof, because the whole stadium is going to be roofed. The progress is at 40%, and the problem still is with the sound system, which is at 10%. And they only have now 27 days. When you calculate all 26 days, not really so much time, because after doing all the renovations, they need to hand over a month to the tournament, the stadium, to the CAF officials, because CAF need to do their own branding. They need to do a lot of things into the stadium to really see that it meets the standard that they want, especially when they are hosting such a tournament. Because for them, the biggest and the most important thing is that visibility. When these games are broadcasted around the world, they need to see organization, they need to see beauty, they need to see everything, and it doesn't look the case for Kenya. And of course, a lot of people have been coming out and giving their opinions of how things are happening, and I have seen a lot of Kenyans not really happy with their country. Some of them are mad. Some of them are really very disappointing. First of all, Kenya did not qualify for the African Cup of Nations 2025 in Morocco, which really adds on to the anger and adds on to the disappointment by a lot of the Kenyans in there. Why is it always asked? Why are we really not the team that really we are supposed to be? And of course, in this region, according to one of the few posts that I managed to go across, or I managed to go to or come across on social media on X, was from a gentleman called Buga Makori. Kenyans know him, and of course they will tell us more about him in the comment section. His comment is Moi Kasarani taking shape ahead of AFCON 2027. We're finally catching up with the likes of Tanzania and Uganda on sports infrastructures 60 years after independence. And of course, to me, it has two mixed messages. One of them, 6 years after independence, sounds like it is a mocking to Kenya. Of all those years, we are still catching up to Uganda and Tanzania. And of course, there's also the reality that the real thing is that Kenya, when it comes to at the moment in the region, despite having better infrastructure in hotels, according to the report that they gave us, they are spoiled for choices, especially with the options of what kind of hotels they can be using, because Kenya has a lot of them. The airport and the air transport looks very all set because it's one of the few attributes that Kenya have as a nation. But sports infrastructure at the moment in the region here, Kenya, the only team without a certified CAF stadium or FIFA stadium when you look at the standards, because the two stadiums that are available, Nyayo and Kasarani, are under renovation, and the progress really looks very slow according to the things that are coming in from there. So there is a lot. I've seen a lot of people complaining and saying you're comparing Kenya to Uganda and Tanzania, whose economy has been worse. See the backwardness. So they are looking at their nation and seeing the comparison and seeing what really their nation is going through, and they're really getting disappointed because, first of all, nations like Uganda have lower economies. I don't know about Tanzania exactly, but Uganda, I'll speak from that example. We are a little bit backward. Our currency does not have the weight of the Kenyan currency or the Tanzanian currency, but in the region here, Uganda still stands out as number one. Basing on FIFA rankings for all the years that we've been there, there's not been so many instances when Kenya and Tanzania have overstepped and exceeded Uganda or gone above Uganda in those rankings. Uganda has always been a little bit more consistent in the rankings in there. And the rankings, someone will say that is FIFA ranking. They decide what to do. But this is based on the wins that you make and the points that you accumulate. So if you don't win your games, you're not really going to be ranked a little bit higher in there. On the other side, Uganda in the region is the only country that has a better record when it comes to the African Cup of Nations in there, because if you know your history very well, Uganda were at the 1978 finals. That was between us and Ghana, and of course a lot of people will say that was far way back, but still you'll notice that all the other nations have not really done very well. And I think Tanzania's best performance in the group stages was in 2008 and 2023, and of course Kenya also not had a very good performance in there. When you look at the region itself and looking at who is very dominant in the region, Uganda still stands out with a domination over 40 CECAFA titles in there. Of course, looking at everything that has been done in the region, we still stand out, especially with the way things are happening in there. And of course, we also have the Seniors Challenge Cup. The CECAFA Cup is 40 titles, and the record, of course, for the Seniors Challenge Cup is 15 wins in there, which also is something very remarkable in there. So it doesn't look very good for Kenya with the way things are happening. And of course, you cannot say they are not doing themselves a favor. They are really working so hard. The government has really got involved in there. Recently, they, elected a new cabinet secretary to replace Mr. Ababu Nawamba. And of course, the gentleman by the names of, he's called Mokomen Wetangura. Of course, a gentleman really who is coming in to really sort a few issues that have really not worked out in the game, especially not only football but also in the game of athletics, because I got to know even that Kenya are having issues to do with the drug issues in athletics. Of course, the doping and all that stuff, they're having issues in there because that is their best trait. They know how to do. In fact, Kenya in rugby and athletics, they are topping the region and really doing very well with the way things are happening. But of course, Uganda as well, catching up very slowly, winning a few major honors where Kenya is involved, and we are really raising the flag a little bit more higher in there. But Kenya really looking like they are topping the region in that. The challenges are there, but also in football there's a little bit of the challenges that are coming in from the Kenya Football Federation. And of course, when the new gentleman was coming in, Mukomen, he came out and of course fired a warning to the FKF officials, coming out and telling them they need to prepare for looming changes, that he may not come out and specify what kind of changes, but already you all know that the body has been there for some time, and of course it has been drawn into conflict and disputes with the opposing camps coming in, and of course are disagreeing on a lot of things. And of course we all know that there is no clear picture of when the elections are going to be done, and of course this is because of the persistent postponements that have been happening in there. And of course there's a lot of things that the new man in office that came out the new cabinet secretary that he came out and talked about, and he talked about how they won't be threatened by the ban, because you remember that when you fired a warning to them telling them that they need to organize themselves for the new changes, they came out and also retaliated and told him, do all that expecting a ban from FIFA, because the government will be involved if at all you try to force the changes in the game. And of course, he came out and also retaliated and said, just like Nigeria, a nation that has had great stuff in the world of football, they are not really scared. They are not going to be scared of the FIFA ban. They are not going to be held ransom because of that ban that is looming in there, if at all they get involved. And of course, you remember that those issues to do with early this year as well, Kenya almost faced a ban because, of course, there was a reversal of the High Court decision stopping local governing body, that is from proceeding with the annual general meeting that was initially planned for March 16th. And of course, the meeting was abandoned, and of course, a lot of disgruntled people in there. And of course, most of them were claiming that Mr. Nick Mwenda led administration, of course, that came into office in 2016, was illegally there and had no mandate to call out the polls. So that is why it was really abandoned. And of course, the troubles have already been they've been exaggerated by a lot of things, and they've been there in there. And of course, a lot of these issues have been attributed to a gentleman called Amina Mohammed, who in the years of, I think, was it 2016, 2019, towards 2009, I think it was 2019 or 16 there. Because what I know that he dissolved the Football Federation and constituted a caretaker committee, you remember then, and of course the move came after FKF was implicated in a grant that was involving over 130 shillings, that is Kenyan shillings, and of course that was set for the preparation of the Harambee Stars that was supposed to be helping them prepare for the 2019 African Cup of Nations that was in Egypt. And the government decision attracted, of course, a ban, like I told you. So it has been long since we've had these issues and the fighting and the bickering in there. And of course, it is about time that Kenya needs to organize themselves, because this is really distracting the football on the pitch. Because you remember that in the region here, the only team that didn't qualify for the African Cup of Nations 2025. And it is really very disappointing with the kind of stars, with the kind of investments, with the kind of infrastructure that Kenya have in there. Because when you look at the number of stadiums they have, they are better than Uganda, miles and miles ahead. Small stadiums that they're building in different communities, Uganda really is just stepping up and really beginning to look at that infrastructure as something very keen there. But the worrying bit about it is that we are worried about what is really happening in the infrastructure, but it is going to affect the footballing bit of it, because now, I'll give you an example. They are not ready for the CHAN with the way things are happening. CAF are really not really happy with the way they are progressing. But remember that even if they prepare this infrastructure, their teams really not. Their team is not really looking very good. Imagine hosting a tournament, African Cup of Nations, and your team really goes out in the early stages, and then you leave the rest to really enjoy the beauty of the nation, and you don't enjoy the community. Because we are looking at all this, but we need to prepare the teams. In fact, I am seeing that the African Cup of Nations is really, we are late in preparations as nations. I don't know how Tanzania are really working out their continuity plan, especially from the players that have been playing to the level. Of course, I know they have very good youngsters. Uganda as well. I don't really think that we have a master plan, especially with the players that are supposed to be playing the African Cup of Nations 2027, because we must, in the previous 5 years, have developed those players, because now it's just like 2 years to go. So we might not have the best of players, because we need to really put up a statement, especially when we host such tournaments. We need to be the dark horses of the tournament. The three of us, I'm not looking at Uganda, Tanzania, or Kenya selectively. I'm looking at them as a unit. And I'm really saying that, to me, of the two countries that you might really be having promise, or having at least, of course, confidence in them, you can only have confidence in Tanzania and Uganda. Of course, in the region, like I told you, Uganda still stands out. Tanzania is not very far with the way things are happening, despite the fact that of the three countries, Uganda really has lesser investment in infrastructure. Kenya has the better infrastructure as well as Tanzania. At the moment, Tanzania looking very good in the progress. I got to know that the Benjamin Mkapa Stadium has also been having small renovations in there, and 80% last week. I think that was the report that came in and showed that the progress is very well. There's also the new stadium that is going to be in Arusha. That is already in Arusha. That is already being constructed, and progress looks like very good. And the pictures are really showing that there is something better in there. Of course, in relation to all the three countries, Kenya looking like their progress is also not bad, because I got to know that the Talanta Sports City Stadium really is taking shape very, very fast. But this really shows you that we need to I don't know how we can help out Kenya in this, because at the end of the day, if at all, first of all, if they have issues with their management of the game, especially in the leadership of the FKF and all that stuff, and government comes in, because I know government, with the investment that they've made, they are not going to let everything lie low. They are really going to be coming in a little bit more stronger. They will come in a little bit more tougher, and will have issues. If at all now Kenya faces a ban, and the next two tournaments, or the next of 3 years or 2 years, they are banned, then that leaves Uganda and Tanzania for the tournament. So are we ready to really replace Kenya if at all that happens? Because we need to have at least 3 stadiums available each. And for Tanzania, I think they already said they have Arusha Stadium being constructed. They have Benjamin Mkapa. They also have the Azam Stadium that is also really looking very good all the way in Zanzibar. So it's called the Amam Stadium. It looks really very good. And other stadiums that are really looking very good in there. For Uganda, we have the Nachivubo Stadium, though it still has a lot to work on. That is why you've not been listening to us being mentioned here. But it is already set, only that CAF has some requirements that they really need to put in place for them to be certified. Then we have the Nambole Mandela National Stadium, which is already available. And then also we have construction of the stadium all the way in Hoima. The Akibwa Stadium, I won't talk about it because we've not had progress in that. So are we really ready to really come in and do the job if at all Kenya is there? But then the other question would be, really, is it right to really rule out Kenya? Because, of course, they've had their own issues. It's not right to rule them out, but really they are not giving us a reason to have confidence in them, because, yes, they have the economy, better economy, they have the infrastructure, but the footballing matters on the pitch really, to me, will be a little bit disappointing if at all they don't organize themselves with the way things are happening. So that is what is really happening on the local scene. Very tough start times for Uganda, especially because we all know that our sisters and our neighbors, if at all we are not really on course with them, then it's going to be an issue for us. For Uganda already, in fact, Kenya, the only nation in the region that don't have a local organizing committee set. Tanzania and Uganda already have one, even for the CHAN that is going to be on next year. Kenya has not really elected one. So there are things that are really, you would really want to be on the side of Kenya, but they don't give you a reason really to be excited, especially with the progress on the pitch. But we are waiting and seeing, and of course expecting that they are really going to be organizing themselves. And of course they have a few days to really finish the Kasarani Stadium. And we know that if progress really is going to be made, it's supposed to be 24 hours a day, 7 days a week of construction and works, which I believe that they've already constituted, and it's going to be on as early as possible. I'll be back with so much more. Do not go anywhere. Do not touch a dial. Stay blessed, and bye-bye.